So recently I made a video discussing all the various updates I think need to be added to Minecraft for the game to feel complete. While I covered the absolute essentials in that video, there are a few updates I left out that I still feel need to be addressed. Minecraft has countless aspects that just feel lacking or subpar when compared to the rest of the content found within the world. And I think these are the things that Mojang should be placing the most priority on when it comes to developing new additions. So here are some more updates that Minecraft actually needs. First off, let's take a look at the oceans. This is an update many speculated to be introduced in the Mounts of Mayhem drop, and that was deeper oceans. See, back in the Caves and Cliffs update, the world maximum and minimum was made way bigger, growing the depth of the world, yet oceans remained exactly the same. Why is that? Oceans need to get the same treatment as the rest of the world and be made much deeper. Whether it's exclusively with generation or a whole new ocean biome, I think this is something that would really sprucing up the oceans. It would also give players an opportunity to use the Nautilus outside of building and to explore this new deep ocean area. I think if they were to make oceans deeper, they should introduce it in the form of a new biome to actually give players an incentive to go there. I definitely think a deep ocean biome centered around bioluminescent fish and plant life would be super cool. Having the water be extremely dark and only lit by the bioluminescent objects in the area. They could be used to craft new decorative blocks, focus around new types of light sources, or just be used as decorations themselves. I'm sure Mojang would be able to cook up some good ideas, but either way, Minecraft needs deeper oceans. Another update we need is a second village update. And no, I don't mean overhauling all the current villages again, as that would definitely be unnecessary, but rather introducing villages to the current biomes that don't actually have them. These include the jungle and swamp, which literally have their own unique villager textures, yet there's no villages for them to spawn in. I understand it would be difficult to make these work with the way the jungle and the swamp generate, but it's definitely possible, and I think it would be an addition that many fans would be fond of. On top of these two, I also think a western village found in the Badlands would be incredible, and maybe alongside this, they could bring in the old losing biome vote features for the Badlands, being the tumbleweed, new cacti, and vultures, and make it a western themed drop. I also mentioned this in the last video, but if they were to do a Badlands and western themed drop, I think this would be a perfect opportunity to add the minecart snapshot improvements, as it's very fitting to the western theme, which often involves railroads. Now, there is an argument to be made that since we've already had a village update, these new variants would need something more than just a fresh appearance to make the update exciting, and while I do agree, I think it's hard to pinpoint what exactly the extra justification for these new villages could be beyond just new unique trades. But even without something like unique trades, adding these new village variations would make the world of Minecraft just feel that much more complete, and would liven up each of the said biomes. Now, another necessary update I want to talk about relates back to some of the features we just received in Mounts of Mayhem, and that is specifically the new desert skeleton variant, the Parched. I love when we get new variations of existing mobs that are visually different with slightly different stats and effects depending on the biome they're in, but for some reason, there's a lot of mobs that have biome variants, but they're still missing certain ones. I actually recently made an entire short around this, but the main idea was centered around the missing variants and continuity. See, the skeleton now has a normal, cold, warm, and swamp variant, yet the zombie only has a normal, warm, and underwater variant. This not only breaks the continuity and logic set up by the skeletons, but it also just means we're not getting a full taste of the possible mob variety I know we could get. We need a cold zombie and a swamp zombie. I also can't forget to mention the need for an underwater skeleton. One concept for this specifically I see going around is a skeleton covered in coral, which I think looks really cool, and I know it wouldn't be that difficult to implement these either, as at the end of the day, they are just retextures with slightly different stats. I do want to quickly note that this continuity doesn't apply to everything, as we do have wither skeletons in the nether, but I don't think that means there's a requirement for something like a wither zombie. Some mobs like the wither skeleton I feel are an exception to this rule. I also quickly want to mention that continuity goes beyond just mobs. One of the ideas I mentioned in that short was more wildflower variants. They're such a great decorative flower that could easily be made in a bunch of different colors, yet we were only given a yellow variant. Overall though, continuity is something that Mojang is definitely making an attempt to work on, as seen with the Parched, but I can't help but feel like they haven't added the other variants, as they just want to save them to throw into future drops as an extra feature. Speaking of the future, if you've been enjoying this video whatsoever and never want to miss out on another video just like this one, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button, as well as hitting that like button. It helps me out quite a lot and is completely free, so thank you. Now, another update that's very much needed, and honestly is probably one I should have mentioned in my first video on the topic, is an update to both the UI and the inventory. We all know by now that the inventory quickly becomes a mess with all the different items that have been added to the game over the past few years, and while Mojang has definitely made some attempts to solve this issue, like with the bundle to condense some of your smaller stacks and the copper golem to make sorting your items a bit bit easier. They've definitely helped with the issue, but they aren't the full solution we need. As to how the inventory could be fixed is a really tricky question in my opinion, and I'll be honest, I'm not really sure as there's so much to consider balancing wise, but something I'm a big fan of is a new item you can wear which expands your inventory by 2 or 3 rows. This could be something found in the late game or in a structure like the ancient city, and I also think it should take up a new slot on your character, as I honestly just think it would be a massive L if you had to sacrifice your offhand or armor for the inventory space. A simple idea for the item could be a shulker box holder, which allows you to place one of your shulker boxes in a new slot and allowing it to be open in your inventory as long as it's equipped, instead of having to place it down and run back and forth. I also can't forget to mention UI, which is something I think for a company as big as Mojang, it's a bit wild that the UI is still so basic and standard this far into the game's life cycle. There are countless texture packs out there that show the amazing ways UI could be updated to be unique for each block, giving unique looks and feels to blocks like the crafting table, furnace, stone cutter, and even just your inventory. I've been using a texture pack for improved UI for so long now that I honestly kind of forgot how bad Minecraft's plain UI is. Literally all they have to do is make some new textures and it would do so much for the game's personality and overall just quality. Next up, I want to take a look at some biomes, specifically Minecraft's colder climate biomes. This past year, there's been an underlying theme of improvements to the desert from the various different game drops, with things like ambient sounds, dry grass, the new cactus flowers, and even a new mob and mountable mob. While I'm sure it wouldn't be considered a fully fledged desert update, which is something I would still like to see in the future, it's definitely still been seeing some love that Minecraft's icier biomes have not. While both the desert and icy biomes could use fully fledged updates, I think it's fair to say the cold biomes at the very least deserve the same treatment as the desert, getting a new cold dead grass, some form of new cold themed plant. It definitely needs some ambient snowy sounds, and this would also be the perfect opportunity to add that cold zombie variant I mentioned earlier. If they were to add a new mountable mob counterpart, it's a bit more complicated as the desert already had the camel, so they were able to just make an undead variant of a pre-existing mob, but a mount that I've seen highly requested by the community is making polar bears mountable and giving them an undead variant with textures similar to that of the stray. While it doesn't necessarily have to be a polar bear, I think the idea of riding polar bears is pretty damn cool. I also quickly want to mention that the Frostwalker enchantment, which doesn't exactly relate to cold biomes, but I felt this was the most fitting place to talk about it, and I just wanted to say I feel like Frostwalker should give players the ability to walk on powdered snow without sinking just like leather boots do. I just kind of wanted to mention that. Anyways, Mojang showed the warm biomes a lot of love this year, and I think it's time we saw the cold biomes get the same treatment. Next up is an update you've all undoubtedly heard about before, and that's finally giving the Fletching table a use. This block was introduced all the way back in the Village and Pillage update with a functionality promised to be coming in the near future. Yet here we are with the block still being unusable. I really don't understand how Mojang hasn't gotten around to this yet, as it should be on the top of their priority list, but all they have to do is make this some form of station, allowing you to more efficiently craft tipped arrows. Another idea I saw that I think would be great for the Fletching table is allowing you to craft new arrow types with different materials that give them different effects. Now I know this sounds very similar to tipped arrows, but let me just explain. One example is you could put an iron nugget on the arrow tip and it would deal slightly more damage. Well, if you use an amethyst shard, it would let you shoot the arrow further. You could even put a torch on the arrow and shoot torches to light up areas far away in caves. It's not that hard, Mojang. Please just finally give this block a reason to exist outside of trading. Next up, we have a quick one, and it's simply just adding concrete slabs and stairs. These blocks have so much color variation and are so helpful for building, but the lack of slabs and stairs makes their potential incredibly limited. Recently in my own world, I wanted to build a roof with them with a nice bright blue color, but I quickly realized that it just wouldn't work with concrete. I didn't want to use another block like wool because the texture and the color just wasn't quite right, so I ended up having to give it a boring regular old roof instead. Concrete slabs and stairs would generally do wonders for building, and I really hope we see them make their way into the game. Now, my last two, I'll admit, aren't as necessary as any of the others on this list, but I thought they would definitely make great additions and are worth mentioning, and these features are the Illusioner and the Illager. These are two variants of the Illager, one that's lost in the game files, and another that's both in Minecraft dungeons and from a losing mob vote. These mobs could either be very involved with unique loot, or they could simply just be added to give combat more variety. I would be absolutely fine with them just serving as a way to spice up combat, putting them both in raids and allowing the Illager to spawn at pillager towers in the colder biomes. If you didn't already know, the Illager had the ability to create giant floating chunks of ice that they would slam down on you from above, and the Illusioner had a variety of abilities from giving you blindness and slowness to turning itself invisible and creating multiple copies of itself. Both are absolutely awesome mobs, especially for combat, and I feel like Mojang is just sitting on a gold mine mind by not adding these Illager variants. But guys, Minecraft has a lot of aspects that definitely need improvements, and these are just a few. But what do you guys think of these updates? Do you have any ideas of your own? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, so leave any you have down in the comments below. Now, if you did enjoy this video whatsoever, a like is greatly appreciated and goes a long way towards helping the channel out, as well as subscribing to ensure you never miss out on another video just like this one. It helps me reach my goal of 30,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate it. I also want to mention I do now have a Discord server, so if you guys want to get the chance to chat with me a bit more, I'll leave a link down in the comments and description below. Anyways guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you have a great, wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.